Hi, thank you so much for having me at Schwab Communications. My name is Spontaneous the Poet. I am a spoken word artist. I have been told I should mention I am a multi-award winning spoken word artist who works globally, who focuses using art for social change. I am a co-founder of Anika Initiative. It's been in existence for the past 10 years right now. We've been using art to basically handle matters human rights, gender development. Yeah, and I'm also the founder of Female Poets Kenya. I am very excited about that baby. It just turned what? 2023 to go 2026. Yeah, so I'm the founder of Female Poets Kenya. We use art, use art therapy. We're big on mental wellness, on sustainability and capacity building. So under mental wellness, we use art therapy to create safe spaces for female creatives to engage. We do creative entrepreneurship through capacity building. Matters financial literacy, matters packaging yourself as an artist. Then we explore sustainability. This is where the meat is. So trying to create access to markets for different creatives in different counties. Yeah, that's who I am in a nutshell. I'm a lover of chess. I love playing chess. I enjoy traveling. But most importantly, I am a lover of people. The year is 2023. 2023. Yes. I receive a call asked if I am aware of one of the ladies who lost her life to suicide. And I get a couple of calls trying to find out where the burial will be, and I did not know her. And that really, really bothered me, because then it hit me that there are people out here who expect me to be in charge or aware of certain things that I'm not in my own industry. And that really bothered me for like a year. Actually, that was in 2022. So I remember asking God, what can I do differently? And to be honest, at first I just thought of a WhatsApp community. I was thinking it would be nice to just know each other. No man is an island, you know. Maybe if I create this WhatsApp group, get to see how many ladies would actually join it. And within the first, was it 2 weeks, we had 100 members join the group. And now it hit me that, okay, now we have a community. So what are we going to do with this community? So I was inspired by that ordeal to create spaces for female poets to engage and create a network where they can have discussions around mental wellness, around whatever issues they're going through, because you're a human being first before you're a title, before you're a creative, before you're all these things. So that's where the inspiration came from. Yeah. Firstly, I would say poetry has shaped how I communicate. It's no longer from a vague point of view, but rather trying to tap into people's emotions. And I think a good leader first is able to empathize with the people they work with. And I think poetry has really shaped that angle from my end. Speaking from being a child who never used to speak as much, I had a really tough childhood in terms of being bullied and silencing myself a lot, because there's the aspect of you being bullied, but there's the aspect of where you're a good student, the teachers assume you're the role model you should be. So like putting up phases because you can't show, I thought then vulnerability was weakness. But then poetry has taught me over the years that vulnerability, there's so much power in vulnerability, because that's where people are able to relate better. And even when you're sharing like advice or guidance, it's no longer from a textbook point of view, but it's from a lived experience point of view. I think the other aspect in terms of leadership that poetry has brought forth is, for me at least, is beyond being someone who sees the problem. What solution do you offer in the process? So for instance, when we were starting out our Nika initiative that I had mentioned prior, we did it with 4 co-founders, and it was geared towards creating spaces where people will talk about gender-based violence. Because we had either directly or indirectly, the 4 of us gone through the same. So poetry in that line showed me that you can take charge. I was in a session called Creative Entrepreneurship being offered by the Gordon Art Center back in 2015. And I remember the first day, the first question, we were put in a circle and we were standing and we were asked, how many people are making money off of their art? And I was the only one who never made a step forward. And that hit home. And then the next question was, how many people have been making money for how many number of years? And so they're saying the years and they're moving forward. And I'm thinking to myself, so it is actually possible to sustain your livelihood as a creative. I believe poetry has also influenced that in my confidence as a leader, to be able to inspire people and motivate people to go beyond just the thought of, I can do my art as a hobby, but I can live through it. There are many. There's so many. I like referring back to 2015 because that's where the journey began. But 2016, I lost my mom. And I think it was during that season when there was a lot of conversation around, why are you so stuck in art? Is it going to pay you bills? And I'm so thankful that the executive director of Show Up Communications then shaped one of the biggest mantras in my life. I remember I went for This Is Africa website launch and she invited me for it. And I remember telling her, can I just perform as a creative? She was like, yeah, sure, why not, And I got paid. And I was paid in USD. And she was saying that, you did such a good job, we didn't have a budget for it. And so this is just a token of appreciation. But for me, I was like, but this is something that's going to pay my rent for 3 or so months. What do you mean, And the joy of recognizing that your art can actually pay bills. That was the first time. And I don't think she even knows. That was the very first time that it hit me that whatever I am doing is not, it's not for waste, Because I was getting a lot of conversations around, is it going to put food on your table? That was the first time I could answer. I could actually say, yes, it actually can. That was one. The second one was when I did a piece for a friend of mine who's an albino. And that time, there were those scandals in Tanzania, and a lot of albinos were being killed, and through just their perceptions and misconceptions, So you sacrifice an albino for God knows what, wealth and all these things. And I remember writing that piece and asking myself, am I sure I want to release this? How is he going to take it? Am I worth speaking for people in that front? What makes me think I am deserving enough, So I didn't release it for a year. And then one day, during the Albinism Awareness Day, I thought to myself, you know what? You already wrote it, release it to the world. Whatever comes, comes. And he was the first person to see it. And he was excited. Because for the first time, someone spoke for me without me having had to explain how my livelihood is like. And he shared it with his albinism community. That was the first time I saw traction in a poem. And it brought about conversations. And that really touched my soul. I was like, okay. So I'm making sense. Like it's in those small things that I was finding my voice. and rubber stamping the fact that it's important to speak for people. I get an opportunity to go to Burundi. That was my first ever trip as a poet, and I represent Kenya during this Jama festival. Again, something interesting about that, why for me it's something I keep remembering every time, is in Burundi people speak Kirundi. It's a fusion of Kirundi, Kinyarwanda, and it's a whole cocktail of languages. But here I am, courtesy of Kenya National Theatre. Here I am doing English poetry, man. Doesn't have Swahili. And I'm thinking to myself before going on that stage, we shared the stage with Kenneth B. And I'm telling myself, how am I going to tap into people's emotions with English, And I remember Ken teaching me something very interesting, chanting on stage. And we did a chant. And while he's chanting in his own language, me, I'm there just calling on God on that stage before we did the poem. And we got to do the poem, and we left the stage. And I remember most of the people were shouting, and people who couldn't understand were just saying, they can't tell you that was good, but I was like, they can communicate, and they come and shake your hands and say that was. And it hit me in that moment that what Maya Angelou said wasn't just words. Like people may forget what you said, but they will never forget how you made them feel. And that for me was that moment. I was like, okay, so as long as you're true to your very essence, in whichever form, whatever language you will speak, it will reach the people that it needs to reach because of the kind of emotion that you're bringing, that because you're in your truest form. So that was one of the very things. There's two more. Allow me to just share two more. One is winning an award. I never thought I was going to be a creative, a poet as a career. And to be able to be nominated for it, I think it was Groove Awards then. I was in shock. And then happened the Talent Ahela. And I'm just thinking, now I'm in a space where I can actually say, I'm looking forward to a Grammy Award. Oh my word. That's a whole journey, and seeing people and seeing other poets also confidently say that. And it's no longer, we see guys who win, but it's, we can also do it. And that really, 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 really stands out. And Forbes, Lead Africa Women Summit. Now that was a confirmation that everything is possible. That as long as you man, if you believe in what God has put in your heart, and it's no longer about you, but about every other person who feeds off of you, everything is possible. And there's no meeting that's a chance. Like, meeting you is not by chance. It's not a coincidence. And I remember I went to school, and the person who recommended me was someone we weren't even as close. And I get to go to Forbes Africa Lead Women Summit as a speaker, doing what? Poetry, representing Kenya. That was one for the books. And it's beautiful that when I came back home, the guys received me, the poetry community received. So it didn't feel like it's an individual person's win, but everybody was holding that flag and they're saying, we are winning out there, and to get people say it's because of that opportunity that we're realizing that poetry is growing in Kenya. I think top of mind is the financial aspect because of the lack of enough platforms for showcase. There's a whole debate around this. But if you take a look at posters, most of the time we have more men in the posters than we have the women in the posters. Then the questions have been, why is that so? Then maybe you also realize that the person who's looking for the artists just know the male creatives. So the question is, where are the women in the mainstream spaces? So I think that's challenge number one that's being sorted right now. Because interestingly, over the years, now we're seeing women doing more events, and we're seeing more women coming up. So I think it's a challenge that we are finding solutions for. If you look at the aspect of motherhood, you've been an artist for a while, and then now you need to bear a child. You need to take time out, say 3 years or so. I believe this also cuts across different workspaces. I think that's a very big challenge. How do you go back to the market? And how does the market receive you as well? I think that's something that we've had to have conversations around. How do we create opportunities for creatives that we know are really good at the work they do, but they have to take time out and then come back? So how do we bring them back to the limelight? Another challenge I would mention is mental wellness. I had started with that earlier. How do you deal with, I believe this also just cuts across depressive moments. How do you deal with suicidal ideations? How do you deal with the aspect of being a single parent who's a creative? Are there communities that are open to help you also navigate these kinds of situations? I think that's a challenge that has also risen. The expectations from the society. First of all, how you're a female creative, and number two, now, how you're a female creative who's an activist. What makes you think you should have conversations around leadership? We're still, unfortunately or fortunately, but things are growing. There's still cultural barriers. There's spaces I have, lazima nivae dera ndio people can listen to me when I speak. That's still a cultural barrier. We may have now the growth of women in leadership is, we can see the growth in itself. But what's the percentage of the decision makers, even as they are leaders? Some say the boardrooms are filled with women who are leaders in departments, but who's the overall leader, Okoju, And I'm not, it's usually hard to respond to that question without sounding gendered, But I think it's just in response to, these are the challenges we as women are equally just facing. I think we have started. It's a beautiful thing. I think there's more work to be done. I think there's need for more women to become producers. There's need for more women to become event organizers. There's need for more women to become event managers, like leadership roles that trickle down to decision making. There's need for more women who, like myself, to share their voices and lend their voices across generations that are also coming up. So there's and as a woman, when a fellow woman cheers you on, it just feels like, and then there's now the addition of the man who's also cheering you on. Like, I can do this in a society where we have grown as women. We've been told, manage. The food is kidogo, you're the firstborn, you're told, manage, it's that it's enough for every other person, You're always thinking of every other person before yourself. It's as easy as, who's in the room? You'll say, Nani's in the room, Nani's in the room. When do you say, I am in the room? Learning your craft and learning through the people who've walked that journey. And what do I mean? Applying for fellowships, applying for, and they're there. Like kuna British Council offers fellowships. I've had the opportunity to do Harvard Copyright X. I don't know if it's still there, but that's something you can check out. There are residencies out here. Right now there are touring opportunities and finances that are being given for artists who want to tour. Like, do your research around your area. And when you do your research around your area and you keep doing applications, it's the same thing as looking for work, by the way. You're always rewriting your CV depending on what you're applying for. You might not get it, but guess what? You built an extra muscle in your mind, and you also built new form of intelligence. And this a must now. These are the things that have now applying, doing proposals and all these things are the things that now taught me also how to project. Then you realize your language is shifting. The people you surround yourself are helping your language to also shift, and so you're able to see beyond. And so for any creative out there who's thinking about, I want to do this is what I've been destined to do, challenge yourself to ask yourself, 3 years from now, what am I seeing? And let's stretch it kidogo. 5 years from now, what am I seeing? Okay, let's stretch it a bit. 10 years from now, what am I seeing? When you start asking yourself those questions, it helps you to now start prioritizing what's important. They say in communication that it takes 7 years for your brand to get out there. I didn't even know that. I had to walk into a communication class and then now I was looking back on it, I'm realizing, oh yeah, the first 2 years is just shouting your name. The second 2 years is, okay, what does this name come with? Building on credibility from people. The next 2 years is knocking those doors with the confidence, because now you've built a portfolio. The 7th year is the year now you show up. But this is a whole journey, and it's a strategy. So as in, learn as much as you can so that you're able to build yourself. Keep it Have you watched her lately? It's like her reflection is in oneness with herself. It's like her shadows have fallen off her eyes. Can you see how she glitters, searching and locking every connection as though it was written? Now that's how to be an African queen. To talk bold in silence, to walk unafraid, to ooze of love without saying a word. Kipepeo, prepare. Nikisema kipepeo mwasema? Kipepeo, kipepeo. What? Managikwe. AI. Managiherai. Managiteko. Have you watched her lately? It's like her scars no longer has a shame. She wears her scars with a proudly with a name. This I call bear. I found feast among my bullies. This I call bravery. Finding my worth after they trod on me softly. This I call confidence. Who dare wear this short hair and still make trends trendy? Who dare wear those cornrows and Africanicity and still show up? Who dare wear this smile and find grace in all your scars? Who dare wear? Keep it pale, prepare. This I call home. Flaunting my masguembes and putting belittlement in its place. This I call truth. Putting my forks and knives because nothing has anything going without the bowling ritual. Being African as I am. This I call truth. Being present. Being purposeful. Being you. Keep it pale.
Prepare.
Keep it pale.
Prepare.
Prepare.
Amazing.
Thank you. Hi everybody, my name is Spontaneous the Poet. Happy International Poetry Day, everybody. Mwah, mwah. Live life, love love.
Ooh, that was good. That was a great.
Oh, thank you so much.